To the program. It is a Tuesday afternoon. The sun was shining brightly, and now the blinds are down because we have a guest in studio. We're broadcasting live on our YouTube channel, WBSM YouTube channel. If you want to go there and give a look, you'll see that Mayor Jasiel Correia, the mayor of Fall River, is with us in the studio. Going to be with us until 3 o'clock this afternoon. Going to be talking about all things Fall River. Mayor, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure, Barry. Nice to see you. Nice to be here. And nice to discuss some of these topics. Yeah,
a lot of things going on. And just for the benefit of those in the audience who maybe aren't too familiar, let me just give a quick summary here of what's been going on. City of Fall River could be facing its second mayoral recall in just 4 years. One man is at the center of both of those recall efforts. He's current Mayor Jasiel Correia, who's right here in the studio with us. Correia's allegations that former Mayor Wolf Flanagan intimidated him with a gun during the now famous midnight ride through the streets of Fall River contributed to Flanagan's recall in a special election held in December of 2014. Former DA Sam Sutter topped a crowded field of candidates to fill out the final 9 months of Flanagan's term, but lost out to Jasiel Correia in the next scheduled general election the following November. Jasiel Correia was 23 years old at the time. Correia was reelected mayor by a lopsided margin over longtime City Councilor Linda Pereira. Even as rumors of a federal investigation swirled and Correia collected contributions to a legal defense fund, which the State Ethics Commission now says cannot be used by Correia to defend himself against the 13-count federal indictment handed up in October. The U.S. Attorney's Office says Correia, prior to being elected mayor, defrauded investors, quote unquote, in the Snow Owl app that he created in order to fund his own lavish lifestyle, according to the indictment, burgeoning political career, and the needs of his other business ventures. Allegations that Correia continues to deny. Now, since the indictment, the 27-year-old Mayor Correia, the youngest person ever elected mayor of a Massachusetts municipality, has refused to resign, has threatened a costly legal battle should the city council try to remove him from office, and I suspect is reviewing his legal options in the face of a possible recall election. Again, Mayor, thanks for coming in. So it's been...
Quite the introduction, Barry.
Well, got to kind of capsulize it for the folks who maybe haven't missed a couple of nuances along the way. So basically the city council is saying, look, you're under indictment. Not all the city council. Some of the city council is saying you're under indictment. We don't feel that you can effectively govern the city while planning your defense at the same time. Some members of the council wanted you to step aside, and they talked about removing you from office, which didn't happen. Some are asking you to step aside. You've said you're not going to do that. You're going to continue to serve, and there's the possibility of a recall election. So give me your thoughts on all of this, where we're at this point. Can you govern effectively?
Oh, absolutely.
The way things are?
We have been governing effectively for the last 3 years, I think more effectively than the previous administrations. When you look at the mayor that I beat, Mayor Sutter, former district attorney, when you look at former Mayor Flanagan, and you look at the trajectory of the city of Fall River, it is undeniable the record that I've achieved as the mayor of the city, along with my staff at City Hall, along with the various other government agencies, whether they be state or local. We have, I think, shepherded the unprecedented turnaround of the city of Fall River, and I kind of call it back to basics because in 2015, when I was elected, the city was in chaos, and I want to separate chaos in terms of city versus private just for a second. Obviously, a lot of people look at the situation I'm in and say, okay, the city's in chaos once again. They look at 2014 with windows being installed in City Hall and midnight rides with guns, and they look at purple bags, and they look at recallers then and now, and they say chaos. The big difference is the city has experienced an unprecedented turnaround. We can go through the accomplishments, but we don't have to do that every time on the news or on a media outlet. I talk about the accomplishments, but they go without saying. People can feel it, they can see it. And because of a politically motivated investigation and attack on me, things have been misconstrued as chaotic in my own personal life. And the people that are attacking me, whether they be the recallers, whether they be city councilors with their own motivations, whether they be my former and still current opponents, mostly political opponents, ranging from economic development directors to former mayors to former councilors, have a singular goal since day one, which is to remove this mayor from office. And they couldn't do that through an election. The public overwhelmingly supported my election in 2015 and my re-election against Linda Pereira, former city councilor, who also worked for former district attorney Sam Sutter. So, again, people are trying to cause chaos. They're trying to distract from the facts. But the fact is, I continue to go to every city event that I possibly can. Before this, we cut the ribbon on another business. I don't think there's a week that goes by that we don't have at least one ribbon cutting in the city of Fall River. Yesterday, we had a TIF board meeting announcing a $10 million expansion of Millstone Medical and 100 new jobs in the medical space in Fall River, made possible through the local TIF and, of course, some of the state incentives. We have numerous MassWorks grants that we're working on at the same time. One of them is right now under critical review due to some of the, again, decisions that I've had to make that are popular with the public but unpopular with some of the people that have considered them for the long period of time, whether that be 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years, the power players of the city, the government people that want to be in government not for the progress of the city but for the progress of themselves. And even when you look at the field of candidates that are emerging now, as a possible recall may happen or may not happen, we'll see. Even them, they're either recycled politicians, people who lost to me, people that have lost in other recalls, people that have unsuccessfully tried to get a job in city administration for a number of years, and they're trying to recycle their own political life, and they're doing it at my expense of my personal situation, not the expense of the city and my accomplishments as the mayor of the city.
All right, so you've made it clear that you have no intention of resigning. The council talked about removing you. Now, Joe Macy, who is the corporation counsel in New Bedford, we call it the city solicitor, but
Sure.
the city's attorney, says in his opinion that's not legal. There's no precedent for that.
Yeah, so there's no precedent for a 9-member city council, also elected by the people, to take a vote to remove the mayor of the city of Fall River or any mayor anywhere, and that wouldn't be fair to the public. The public, as I've stated numerous times, has the ability to have a recall election and to speak their mind and go to the polls and vote. They also have that ability in a general election as well. That's where we've decided, and that's what I've decided, to allow that process to play out. It would not be fair to the process. It wouldn't be fair to me personally or the city of Fall River or the citizens for that right, that election right, to be taken away by the city council. And ultimately, the city council decided in a 5-4 vote to not remove me as the mayor of the city of Fall River. They decided not to proceed with that particular vote.
Well, the councilor, Steve Camara, made the case the first time the council brought this up that this could be very costly for the city because you would have grounds to sue. And what he told the council members was that, look, this could cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars that we don't have. And this is not money that we can get grant money to cover. This is money that will come from schools and police and that type
Barry,
of thing.
This is the way I look at it. And I think the public is on my side on this. When you think about it, you gotta use common sense, okay? Nobody's happy. I'm not certainly, well, maybe I can't say nobody's happy, but I certainly am not happy about federal indictments. But they have nothing to do with me being the mayor. In fact, the U.S. attorney stated that. They're all prior to me being the mayor. They had to go back to a company I started when I was 19, and we can maybe address some of that, but as you understand, I got to be very careful. My attorneys have told me to be very careful on what I say and what I do not say. However, the fact is, I've done a good job as mayor. Everybody knows that. The council knows that. The school committee knows that. The citizens know that. They're happy with the results. They're disappointed with the situation the city's in. No question that I'm in. But at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense for anybody to just say, let's rush to a recall, let's rush to remove him, let's throw him out of office, when we don't know what the results are going to be of any of this stuff. It has nothing to do with the city of Fall River. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm going to maintain my innocence, and I'm going to prove that I'm innocent, because the reality is my app, Snow Owl, was a real app, is a real app. The content is there. People saw it. They downloaded it on their phones. That's a reality. And the government has to prove that I created a scheme and a fraud. And that is simply something they're not going to be able to prove because it's not true.
All right. So at this point, where we sit today, the city clerk has, from what I understand, about 6,000 signatures that were collected, and they have to certify, about 2,500?
2,510.
Okay. In order to force a recall election.
Correct.
And this process is still ongoing? They're still reviewing those signatures?
Yeah, they're still reviewing them. They take time. I mean, you had a holiday week last week, wonderful Thanksgiving. So City Hall was not open, and then you're going into December now, and they're certifying them one by one. And we'll take a look after the certification on whether or not we decide to challenge them. Quite frankly, I don't believe that 5,800 people decided to sign a recall petition. Now, that may be my own ego, may not be, but what we're getting reports of videos of city councilors collecting signatures and stating that there was fraud and that there was forgery. We're getting numerous reports from different people saying that they weren't told exactly what the recall petition was about. and that it was about X, Y, and Z. You get pictures of recall petitions that look very sketchy. So, I don't think the process was done from a position of people that really wanted to change the city's circumstances. They're people that have been angry and been haters, quite frankly, since day one. Everybody involved in the process has been that. Now, some maybe supported me at one point, but through their political associations and their ties, they've decided that that's what they want to do, and they have the right to do that. I also have the right to defend myself and call people out too, and that's what I do. Because again, the way I look at this job of being mayor is not about power. It's not about me. It's not about my administration. It's about making the city of Fall River a better place, competing with other communities, and making sure that the city of Fall River is a proud place to live, work, and raise a family, or live in and work in Boston, or whatever you may decide to do. But we had to make the city an energetic place, and we did that. Now, my job is trying to be stolen away from me, so people have to expect me to fight. That's what's happening here. My job's being stolen away from me. So for people to expect me to just take it, they're not gonna be. I'm not gonna allow that to happen, and it's not right for me. It's not right for my family. It's not right for the city of Fall River, because we've done a good job, and the people know we've done a good job.
So if the recall is allowed to go forward, would you challenge that legally?
It'll depend. It'll depend on how many signatures are certified. We cannot get a copy of those signatures until they're certified. So if I look at those and I see, 20 of these names look like they were written by the same person, wouldn't you challenge it? Right? I mean, if you have videos of people, you see videos of people that say, oh yeah, I forged my husband's name, or I did this or that. I mean, those things exist. They're out there. I ask that people post them. If they have those videos, they post them. That's important to know. That's important to see. And if the process was somehow flawed or somehow tampered with, then yeah, of course I should challenge it. I would have the duty to challenge it. I'd have the duty to the people, the 65% of people that reelected me just a year ago. They wanted change. They wanted continuous progress that this administration has brought, and that's what people care about. At the end of the day, the listeners listening, whether they're from New Bedford, Fall River, or in between, you care about your pocket, you care about your city, you care about your kids, you care about your job, your home, your place. And that's what I think ultimately people want. And I have been the shepherd and the steward of the city of Fall River. How have we done that? Well, when I took office, my previous opponent said that when he took office, he was left with a city on the brink of receivership. So what did he do? He doubled down and taxed people some more, created a $120 fee to collect their trash, on top of Purple Bags, pay-as-you-throw program in Fall River. What did I say? I promised that I'd get rid of the $120 fee. I get elected, I got rid of it. Privatized trash successfully, got rid of the fee, returned $120 into those people's pockets. The citizens of Fall River, $3.7 million of revenue back in their pockets. That's a fact. I propose to get rid of the Purple Bag program, and I will not leave office until that Purple Bag program is gone. It's an inefficient program. It hasn't worked in Fall River. There are many communities that do not have it. More communities do not have pay-as-you-throw than there are that do. And I think the Purple Bag program should be gone. And I continue to fight to make that happen. And you have city councilors that continue to prevent that from happening because they have to eliminate the ordinance, which they solidified under the last administration, not this administration. We've been trying to break that ordinance and get rid of the program and return another multi-million-dollar savings to the public. That's what people care about. We're doing roads, we're redoing streets, we're doing streetscapes, trying to compete with downtown New Bedford. You look at downtown New Bedford, it's all streetscapes. That's what they are. It's the period lighting, it's the trees, it's the cobblestone accents. Obviously, those have attracted different businesses like breweries. That's a great standard to achieve. In Fall River, we have 2 breweries that are opening up on our waterfront. So these things are happening. They've happened under this administration. And it's part of the bigger picture, right? We have a new Durfee High School being built. That was a campaign. We had to campaign to ask the taxpayers if they wanted to build a new Durfee High School. They said yes. We had Atlantis Charter School open up in Fall River. We've eliminated all the pink slips that used to go to teachers every year because we couldn't meet net school spending. We couldn't even exceed net school spending, and now we have successfully several times. We've increased our police force, our fire department. We've purchased 8 new fire trucks, completely updated the fleet. All these things, brand new parks, brand new playgrounds. Those are the things that people care about, and we've done what the people wanted over the last 3 years under this administration. And what has happened? They're trying to take people, forces are trying to take away the great things we've done for their own political gain.
All right, so if the recall is allowed to go forward and there is no challenge, how soon could there possibly be an election? Now, if I remember under the Flanagan recall, the courts decided there had to be a primary, right?
No primary. It's
no
a runoff.
primary.
No primary. It's a runoff. All candidates in. top vote getter takes it all. I think the city council has the authority to set that date. I think it is no less than 60 days from the date that the signatures are certified, if I'm not mistaken. So that could be somewhere in February, March.
And the next primary in Fall River is September.
September. Once again, I don't see the point. I honestly don't. I asked people when I last was on the radio not to sign the recall petition because, I'm asking for a speedy trial if this even needs to go to trial. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe there's a way not to go to trial. We're exploring those options as well. That's a possibility, but I don't want to make any commitments. At the same time, you're looking at a re-election, an election in March, a special election for a recall. That's another $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 election. And then you got a primary in September. This could all be wrapped up, guilty or not, all wrapped up before that time. So I just don't see the reason. I think we rush to it, but that's okay. If I need to challenge, or if somebody wants to challenge me to become the mayor of the city of Fall River, I ask that people elect me again, that they trust the process, that they trust the results, result-driven. When I talk about the city's results, they're undeniable. They're facts. They're 100% facts.
So your intent would be to be a candidate in a recall election?
It's possible, Barry. If we have to have a recall election, I would probably be a contender.
All right. Now, you have you have stepped on some powerful toes during your political career, including other candidates, as you've pointed out, and those who support other candidates. In fact, you even blamed your political opponents for stoking rumors, quote unquote, about the investigation for political purposes.
Wait. Let's take that for a second. I didn't blame them. They admitted this.
Okay.
Right? So my former opponent, Linda Pereira, said publicly that she spoke to the FBI, but yet I was charged with nothing that has to do with the city of Fall River. So what did she talk to the FBI about?
Right.
Former city council president Sean Kadim said he spoke to the FBI. What did he speak to them about? So all these people admitted that they spoke to the FBI, that there was these rumors going around, and they were pointing fingers at things that had been done wrong in the city of Fall River, and yet there's no charges about the city of Fall River. So what I presume happened was a lot of rumors were being spread, and they were able to stoke an investigation, get enough bite. And they had to go way back into my past, not too far because I'm still a relatively young guy, to when I started this company, Snow Owl, an app on the App Store. So if you have a Facebook app, you have a Twitter app, you have a WBSM app, whatever app it may be, the app on your phone. I started that company when I was 19 years old. We raised some money. It's in the indictment, $363,000.
Well, yeah, I'm going to get to that. That's coming up. But so your contention is that somehow or another these people did play a role in the initiation of this investigation.
I know they played a role. That's a fact. It's not. They've said they played a role. They said they were involved in some form or fashion. So we know they played a role.
All right. But what about the U.S. Attorney's Office has stated that the investigation is ongoing. Do you anticipate any further charges?
No, I don't anticipate any.
Any other arrests at all? Is anybody else being implicated in all of this?
I don't know. That's not for me to know.
All right, and you say you are asking for a quick trial, a speedy trial.
Absolutely. I want to get this wrapped up and behind me. I'm 27 years old. I want to get this wrapped up and behind me and move on to continuing to do the great work that I've done as the mayor of the city of Fall River.
All right, the indictment against you is the result of an investigation conducted by the FBI, the IRS, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and of course the U.S. Attorney's Office. How does HUD fit into this?
Well, that's again, I can't answer that, Barry. You'd have
there
to
are no
ask
charges about violating federal housing policy, right?
You have the indictment. There's none there. So you have to ask them. This is why it's so strange, right? You have all these people involved that are all federal agencies that are going after essentially a $300,000 company, which would amount to, in my opinion, a civil suit, a civil dispute between businessmen, in this particular case, all businessmen, and myself. That's what this would amount to under normal circumstances. But because I'm a young mayor, identified in the indictment as a Hispanic, which is not true. I'm a Portuguese, Cape Verdean American. Because of those factors, they've decided to do this. So what am I going to do? I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to whine. I'm going to fight it. I know I'm innocent. I know I made this company. It was on the App Store. It can still be on the App Store. It's legit. It's real. And I'm going to fight this.
All right, so according to the indictment, you face 9 counts of wire fraud and 4 counts of filing false tax returns. It's alleged that you misused $231,000 of the $363,000 that you accepted from 7 investors while misleading them about the Snow Owl app that you created. You are alleged to have purchased a 2011 Mercedes C30. Have you still got the Mercedes?
Barry, I can't comment on anything that has to do with the indictment. I'm sorry.
All right.
Even though I'd like to, I just can't.
Okay. They also allege that you systemically looted the account to pay for your car, jewelry, designer clothing, plane tickets, luxury hotel rooms, as well as restaurants, casinos, and adult entertainment. Did you purchase with either any of the investor money or on your own money? Did you buy any of these things?
I can't answer any of those questions.
All right.
And you have to respect that there's a process here. It's a very intimidating process. It's a very serious process. What I can tell you is that nothing in that indictment has anything to do with the city of Fall River, and I'm here representing myself as the mayor of the city of Fall River, and I can talk about anything that has to do with the city of Fall River. I can talk about anything I've done as the mayor of the city of Fall River, but anything pertaining to that, which is solely private before I was the mayor of Fall River, I cannot comment because it is in litigation, and I look forward to proving my innocence of all of those counts.
All right, so you're maintaining through your innocence and your plea of innocence that you did not
Barry, I can't
take investment money and
I cannot
misuse it.
answer any of those questions.
All right, did you lie to investors?
I cannot answer any of those questions.
You were also accused of amending your tax returns upon learning that you were under investigation. Did
Barry,
you change your taxes?
I can't answer any of those questions. And I've explained this to you before, off air, on air.
I have to ask them.
I get it.
These are the question I have to ask you, right?
I can't answer any of those questions.
So, anyway, did you misuse the money that was invested in Snow Owl?
I'm here representing myself as the mayor of the city of Fall River. None of those things that you're asking me right now have anything to do with the taxpayers of the city of Fall River, anything to do with taxpayer money. We can talk about the fact that things that are going on in the city of Fall River that have to do with taxpayer money.
We're going to do that in just a few moments. We're getting there. So Snow Owl's actually up and functioning.
I can't talk about the indictment. I can't talk about the app.
Well, I know Snow Owl's actually up, and I mean, you've stated this publicly on the record.
Snow Owl is and always has been
since the indictment. You've stated on the record that Snow Owl
has always been a real product.
Okay, you showed it to me one time.
I believe you've seen it
a few years ago. Okay, so my question to you is: it certainly does cost money to bring an app from the drawing board to fruition, right?
Yes.
Okay, and so through that process, you did solicit donations. The question here is not whether you solicited donations; it's whether you misused them.
I cannot comment on anything that has to do with the indictment or anything that has to do in my private, personal life that started and is solely before I was the mayor of Fall River.
But would you be able to produce receipts to say, hey, look, it does cost money to do this. This is what I spend money on.
I think all that will be shown through a trial if it's necessary, and at the end of that trial, I will be proven to be innocent, and that's really where I have to stop myself, because I'm sure that there are many people listening to this and would love to have me trip over myself or say something that they can use against me, and I just can't afford to allow that to happen. And that's based on the advice of very intelligent people, mostly attorneys, and also just family and friends who have told me to not address that. You know, I've never shied away from a question. Going back to when the entire Flanagan situation happened, and an independent prosecutor stated that I was the most credible person out of anyone in that situation. You recall that was actually in the prosecutor's findings. So I continue to maintain my credibility. That's proven through the results that I've generated as the mayor of the city of Fall River, and I will prove my credibility through potentially a trial or whatever else happens with that particular indictment. But I maintain, and it's a fact, that indictment has nothing to do with the city of Fall River, and I'm innocent of all those charges.
All right, so what is the status of Snow Owl today?
Barry, I cannot comment.
Well, I mean, is it operating? Can I download it?
I cannot comment on anything that has to do with the indictment or Snow Owl or the company.
Okay. I'll do a search for it later on and see if I can find it. Maybe it's next to the BSM app on there. I don't know. All right, I got some other stuff that I wanted to ask you, too, and I want to get into, you wanted to address the whole city Pier issue, and we're going to do that, too. Let me do this. We're going to take a break. 508-996-0500 is the number if you'd like to call and chat with Mayor Correia, and we'll do more of it as we continue on at 508-996-0500. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to the program. It is, 2:33 on a Tuesday afternoon. Now we are joined in studio by Fall River Mayor Jasiel Correia, who most of you know is right now facing a 13-count indictment, but he is staying on the job of mayor, potentially a recall facing him if the proper number of signatures can be certified in order to do that. But he said he won't resign and may challenge a recount if one is held. So recently, just I think a week ago Friday night, the former director of the Fall River Office of Economic Development, Ken Fiola, was let go by the Redevelopment Authority during a meeting that he was not present at. Okay, and he said they waited till I went out of town to do this and yada yada. You control the votes on that board, right? I mean, it's a friendly board.
I wouldn't say that. No, I mean, there's a governor's appointment. There's an appointment that has been there since before I was the mayor that I cannot and have not changed. And then there are other appointments that are made by the mayor, but the board acts independently and they have their own duties and responsibilities. And I think it's really important. I'm not going to talk too much about the RDA. I'm going to let them speak for themselves. I'm going to let the process play out because there are some very concerning things that have to do, unlike the stuff we just talked about a little while ago, that are primarily and only personal. There's a lot that has to do with actual taxpayer dollars and state money involved with the city Pier. And the whole project is a mess. It's a mess from the contractor.
Let's walk the folks up to it because you have a relationship going back a ways with Ken Fiola. And
but just
the city council, before you were elected mayor, the city council voted to eliminate the Fall River Office of Economic Development and Ken Fiola's position.
That's correct.
And they came to you and actually to your predecessor and said,
That's
we
correct.
want a city Office of Economic Development rather than this quasi-agency to do it. And then somewhere along the way, the council changed its mind. I wouldn't say the council. Yeah, this council has had a different tone. Some of the councilors that are the same councilors. Look. So you decided to get rid of the Fall River Office of Economic Development as it existed.
The city of Fall River decided to end its funding of the Fall River Office of Economic Development with Community Development Agency money, which is HUD money, because of a lot of different things. But primarily, when you enter into a relationship, when you want to have a positive relationship to continue the progress of economic development, you've got to have everybody on the same page. And unfortunately, the vice president, the economic development director, who headed that agency with his board, was not on the same page, and is just an individual that's really focused on their projects the way they want them, and really not always in the best interest of the city. And that's not to say that they haven't had numerous successes. They have, and they've been successes that have been in partnership with the city and the state. What has happened over the long period of time that they've held on to that grip of money and power has been that there's a lot of questionable things. You know, when I look at how much money have we invested in that organization, how much money has the top individual made over the period of time, 30-year period of time they've run that organization or been involved with that organization, I then look at that and I say, okay, what are the results? Where have we had some really great successes? Where have we had some failures? Where do we need some room for improvement? And I just thought that it was time. It was time to make a change. People wanted to make a change. They were not happy with the progress of economic development.
So this was a quasi-agency that was funded in part by community development money. It was not an actual city agency.
Correct. It was a separate agency that received community development agency money to the tune of about $320,000 annually.
And it was your thought and the council's thought.
Well, originally, the council, numerous mayors, you've interviewed other mayors.
That they bring this agency into the city government, fold it in-house.
Okay. With the RDA, with the mayor's office, like many other communities have. Again, I think there are more communities that have in-house economic development agencies than subcontracts or contracted out community development agency funding towards economic development. So we wanted to bring it in-house, and we have done that essentially. We've done economic development. We announced Millstone Medical. We've announced South Coast Marketplace. There's a lot of different things that we've done in-house that I think are just more transparent.
So did your administration stop funding this quasi-agency with community development money?
We stopped funding the community development agency. Stopped funding FROED sometime last year.
Okay. And
right around the budget time, so in June.
So were they doing any work at all recently for the city? One of the projects that's been very important for the city is the city Pier project.
Right. So the economic development
we have
office,
the state Pier in New Bedford, which is getting
BCEDC is their new name. They've rebranded themselves. They still have a contract or had a contract until that Friday meeting with the RDA to handle their economic development activities. That's our City Pier project. That's the biotechnology park. That's the Route 79 North project, as well as some of the urban renewal plans that are sitting in our city council chamber right now that need to be approved. That was their contracted services. That was what they were responsible for another $11,000 a month. And this particular project, the RDA City Pier project, has been a mess. It's been a total mess. I mean, things that should have been done are not done. So the contractor said, look, I've wrapped up the project. I'm done. They've sent us a certificate saying they're completed, with the exception of city drainage, drains, sewer, and water on the site. That's a big problem. The fill has been brought in, the project is done, and there's no drains. If you go by that site today in Fall River, you're going to see a icy pond on top because the water has nowhere to go, especially with all the rain we've had recently. That's a major problem. That fill was brought in, no contract, no change order, no issue. Again, I'm not here to discuss the nature of that because that's the RDA's issue, but it has caused an issue for the city. We've got money invested in it. The state has $1.6 million invested from MassWorks. Seaport Council has another $1 million invested in that. We've been in communication with the MassWorks individuals that run this particular project on the state level. And then, I don't know what they're going to end up doing with it, but they have some issues, and there's some clear issues that have existed here for a long time. This individual that runs this organization has tried to make this personal between him and I. That's not the case. I'm just trying to do my job, just like I've done my job in all the other areas of the city, whether it's been improving education, public safety, roads, whether it's city potholes, whatever it's been. We've tried to make the city a better place. That's all we've tried to make it. That's all we've tried to do. This individual has done some good work, no question about it. But at the same time, when you look at the salary of an individual over the last, just since 2000, over $3 million paid to this person personally. $3 million? I look around and I say, okay, how many people in Fall River have made $3 million in the last 20 years?
Well, the project as it sits right now is not up to spec. It's not up to what was written into that original construction order, right?
Correct.
Because it was supposed to contain draining.
There's of course, drainage is supposed to be in the project. It's a city pier. It needs drainage. It doesn't have drainage. The drains are actually sitting on top of the now totally filled, totally completed site, according to the contractor, completed site. But obviously, we know that it's not completed. The organization, the BC EDC, has already communicated with the state that the project is done, that it was done, that the drains were installed and they're not installed. Again, that's all gonna wash itself out. That's gonna be their own problem to deal with, but it's a major problem, and that's why the board took action. What I was getting at before is really important. When you have a board of volunteers, okay, whether they be appointments by the mayor, whether they be the governor's appointment, they are volunteers, and when they have to sign a check for $1.2 million change order, they're the ones that, if they're not doing something properly, the organization's not doing something properly, they're the ones whose name is going to be on that check. So those individuals lost faith, confidence, and trust in the RDA's contractor, which was the BC EDC, which was led by Mr. Ken Fiola. That's what happened here. There's no conspiracy. There's no I tried to eliminate Ken Fiola. That's not what this is about. The fact of the matter is, he told the state that the drains were in. They were not. He told the BC EDC told the RDA, hey, we're running these projects, everything's good. The project's closed out. They went from a $3.7 million bid to today over $5.9 million. The lowest bid was 3.7, and they're now higher than the highest bidder, which was 5.6.
So who's responsible for the overruns?
That's the problem. The RDA.
Does that fall on the city?
No, it doesn't fall on the city. It's the RDA. Now, we have an interest in seeing the RDA be successful. We have an interest in seeing that City Pier site gets developed into a restaurant, a marina, whatever. So we are working with the RDA and helping them through this process. They've now canceled their contract with their contract provider, which is BC EDC, and they've decided to contract with the city. We don't charge them anything. We do that for free. So they're not only are they saving $11,000 a month, but they feel more comfortable. It's a more transparent process, and it's being run out of City Hall as opposed to a private.
Well, because
entity.
the state didn't get what it paid for, does that jeopardize future funding from the state?
It's possible. We don't know that. You'd have to ask the state. I don't know the answer to that. The state would know the answer to that. But I'll tell you, they're not happy, and they shouldn't be. They invested $1.6 million into this project, and they were told that drains were installed, and they weren't. Simple as that. That's the fact. They were told they were installed. They were not installed, and we've got a problem. We've got a problem because those drains have to go in. So somebody's going to have to rebid the project, get a contractor back in there, tear up all the fill, over $400,000, almost $400,000, $390,000 worth of fill. That's a lot of fill. Compacted, graded, it's done. Somebody's going to have to dig that up and install drains. So the project has been messed up. I'm not saying it's criminal. That's not my job. My job is to say, okay, what are we doing with city money and grant money, right? We're putting the city's name out there by saying, let's apply to this MassWorks grant. Let's get this Seaport grant. We've received those grants for this project, and now we have a project that doesn't have drainage, that doesn't have utilities. It just doesn't make any sense. So the RDA was uncomfortable. They're volunteers. They don't want to sign paperwork. They don't want to sign checks. Not feeling comfortable that in 10 years from now or 5 years from now that their name is going to not be brought back up to say, okay, you made this mistake because you signed it. That's the reality. Now, Ken and other people want to go out there on other radio stations and whatever on Facebook and say, oh, well, this is retaliation. This is the mayor trying to get back at us. No, let's take a step back. Let's look at the facts. The fact is the project has a lot of issues and a lot of problems. Most importantly, there are no drains installed. The drains are actually sitting on top of the property. That's a problem. That's a fact. Somebody's going to have to install those drains. Now, that's not to say they can't address it. They can talk about it. They can figure it out. But the reality is they don't trust him. And that's the problem. So I think that's going to...
Well, somebody's got to pay for it, too.
Well,
but the whole issue of revenge, that has come up because
of course
I think it was, if my time reference is correct, I think it was like about a year ago, April maybe, that during a meeting of the Fall River Economic Development Commission, Ken Fiola stood up and said, hey, guess what? The mayor's under FBI investigation.
Right. Another very strange and peculiar fact. Why Mr. Fiola would know about that investigation if it has nothing to do with the city of Fall River, as you've seen, come out, it just doesn't make any sense.
Now, at that time, you stated you had no knowledge of the investigation.
That's correct.
You hadn't been. When did you first learn that you were?
I can't answer anything that has to do with the investigation, Barry. It could jeopardize it, and I don't want to jeopardize it.
Yeah.
I don't want to jeopardize the process. I got to win. And I got to prove my innocence. That's a fact. So I can't get into any of those things, and you know that. But the reality is, people again they get confused. We were defunding Mr. Fiola and the FROED at the time, their contract with HUD money way before he made that announcement. So, the revenge thing, it's really the opposite. I decided to defund that contract, and then all of a sudden he makes this announcement. Why? Because he was trying to distract from the fact that he was getting defunded and trying to prevent that. And I don't blame him. He was getting defunded by $360,000 almost every year. Not another fact, again, we're in litigation, but he owes the city of Fall River, that organization owes the city of Fall River $111,000. There's a lot of pieces to this that don't always make it into the mainstream media, that don't always make it onto Facebook, that don't always make it everywhere, but there's a lot of internal issues that we've tried to correct, and it has been a struggle. It has been a process that has been tedious, but has been done to only benefit the taxpayers of Fall River. That's the only reason, and there's no reason to believe otherwise. What other reason would I, as the mayor of the city, decide to undo a lot of the mistakes or uncover or try to correct a lot of the mistakes that have been made? I'm not taking away the fact that they've been helpful, that they've done their job on some projects. We just had this debate the other day about the fact that they're a consultant for a company that's now expanding in Fall River. That's great. They can be a consultant. That means they filled out some paperwork. They didn't bring the company here. They didn't expand it. They filled out some paperwork to apply for TIFs that are given by the taxpayers of the city of Fall River, TIFs that are given by the state of Massachusetts, and incentives to create jobs in Fall River. That's what we do as a city. That's what they do as a state. That's what we come together and do this in partnership. It's not about taking credit. It's about getting it done, and that's what we've done time and time again in the city of Fall River. All
right, let's grab a couple of calls for the mayor. 508-9960-500 is the number. You've been hanging on patiently, and I appreciate that. You're next on WBSM. Good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. My question is for Mayor Correia. I'm wondering can there be a recall on city council people, not just mayors?
The answer to that is yes, there can be a recall on city councilors, not just mayors. And that would be initiated by of course, the citizens.
Because really, I think they should recall the city council president. I watched those meetings, and he is the rudest, most arrogant guy I've seen. I mean, it's ridiculous that he is allowed to treat people like that. But I guess I don't know whether the people like him or not, but really he needs to be recalled. Second thing is, go right ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
The second thing is Fall River, and I'm not from Fall River. They have the dirtiest politics in the world. I have been watching them for years. It's like a soap opera. There's so many haters. Nobody can work together there. The councilors don't either like each other or they don't like the city officials. It's ridiculous. They need to learn to work together. I mean, they're all adults there.
All right, appreciate your call, ma'am. Did you want to respond to that?
No, I mean, again, I look at this and I say, and the people know it. The people that are out there, they know what's going on. You have city councilors that want to be mayor. You have economic development agencies that want to retain their power for the last 30 years and continue to get paid. They're motivated by money. They're motivated by their power and grip on power. These people, they don't want to do what's in the best interest of the city of Fall River. I'm not ashamed. I'm not afraid to say my record speaks for itself. When you've increased the stabilization fund from negative $500,000 to $8 million in 3 years, when you've been able to successfully increase spending on schools while at the same time returning savings to taxpayers through eliminating a trash fee, when you added 8 new vehicles to 8 new fire trucks, not just vehicles, giant fire trucks, the fire department, when you've improved city roads, when you've improved the brand of the city of Fall River, my record speaks for itself, and the people know that. That's why they reelected me, and I think that's why they'll reelect me again. And that's my only motivation. My motivation is nothing else but to see the city succeed. And over the last 3 years, it has been a bunch of, in some cases, crybabies, people that didn't get their way, people that are upset, that have their own agendas, that want to be the mayor, that want to see the mayor go down, all these other things that have tried to hold the city back. And it has been a struggle for my staff at City Hall. It has been a fight every day to make sure that the city is benefiting from all the things that we've done, that the taxpayers in their homes, at their dinner tables, can be happy that they live in the city of Fall River. And unfortunately, all these other people, this swirling out of control nonsense, has put me personally in a very, very difficult situation. And that's shameful. It's the worst feeling in the world. But at the same time, what I think mitigates that is the pride I feel for the city of Fall River and the record we've accomplished. Because nobody, not the U.S. government, not the Economic Development Office, not the councilors that don't like me, nobody can take away the results and the record this administration, along with all of our City Hall employees and all of our city employees, have achieved together.
508-996-0500, you're on the air with the mayor. Go ahead.
Yeah, is this Barry?
Yes.
Dirty Deb. Hey, here's how I look at it. I don't see there's any sense in a recount because it's so close to an election.
I agree with you.
It's going to be just a gross waste of taxpayer money. And what do you think that's going to cost?
Yeah,
What would a recount cost?
It could be $30,000 to $40,000, $50,000. It always varies. But I agree with the caller. I mean, again, this is the crazy part, right? You got the RDA. That project is way over budget by millions of dollars. You've got us spending over the last 20 years, since 2000, less than 20 years, $3 million to Ken Fiola. You've got money being owed to the city of Fall River by an economic development institution. You've got councilors that want to cause a lawsuit that could be $300,000. You got all this stuff. Guess what? There's only one person concerned about saving the taxpayers' money in city government right now, and that's Jasiel Correia II, the mayor of the city of Fall River. That's what we've done. We've returned savings to the taxpayers. We're going to get rid of the purple bags. We've done the people's business every single day, and all it is distractions from our detractors left and right all day long.
All right, let's get to another call. You're next in the air with Mayor Jasiel Correia. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a comment about it is clearly evident when you watch the city council meetings from the beginning to the end how that there are 3, especially, that are so against the mayor from the beginning. It's ridiculous. It's just so evident just by watching it. It really is. It's appalling. It's the way that they act. They are so against him. He's got all these haters that are just trying to bring him down, and it's an awful shame.
Well, thank you. Thank you for recognizing that. And I think a lot of people out there recognize that. You know, there are clearly a handful of people that are upset, don't like me. That's fine. They can keep fighting left and right, and they will. That's what they do. I mean, that's what they're going to do, and I understand that. But at the same time, that's why the record is so important. My record as the mayor, what we've tried to do, the positivity. You know, I've lost confidence in a lot of the city councilors. When I go to a Veterans Day parade, and when I go to a Veterans Day event after the Veterans Day parade, and I see 2 city councilors out of 9 there, where's the confidence in our city council? When I have a TIF board meeting, or we look for a new economic development director, and the city council president, Cliff Ponte, puts himself on these boards, or wants to be on these boards, and then doesn't show up to a single meeting, not one, ask the chair of that committee, ask my city administrator, look at the email chain, hasn't shown up to a single meeting the entire time he's been the city council president, That's a shame. There's no confidence in that. When we have one of the most beautiful buildings in the city of Fall River, St. Anne's Church, potentially being completely closed down, and we're trying everything we can to make sure the building stays standing in some form or fashion.
Is there any hope for that?
There is, absolutely. I've outlined several plans. I mean, we don't want to get into it now because I think we're closing
pretty
in
tight on time. Yeah, let me do this. Let me cover very quick.
When I see none of those people there, I don't see any of these city councilors I've asked people, tell me one thing, this city council as a whole, because there are wonderful people on our city council, and then some people that have a lot of hatred in their hearts and minds on our city council. But name one thing they've done collectively as a city council that has benefited the taxpayers of the city of Fall River, with the exception of having their regular meetings and doing the city's business, which is all sent down from the mayor.
All right, let me do a real quick break. We'll come back
Sure.
and take a couple more calls. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. We've only got a couple of minutes left with the mayor, so I'm going to try to rifle through these calls as quickly as I can. So if you can get to your point real fast, that way we can get a lot of them in. You're next in WBSM. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, calling to ask Mayor Correia. The project down on the city pier in Fall River, is that a multi-phase project or is that just one phase?
I believe it is a multi-phase project, and phase one has been totally disastrous in terms of what was in the contract, which was specifically the storm drainage as well as some of the utility work, not the electric. I don't believe the electric was in that. But in the original contract, certainly the storm drains were part of that contract, which have not been completed.
All right, you're next with the mayor. Go ahead. Hello, you're next in WBSM.
Hi, yes. I have a question for Mayor Correia. I do live in Fall River, and I am a voter, and I'm really confused about why HUD, Housing and Urban Development, Office of the Inspector General, were present at your arrest in Bridgewater. You're saying that this 13 indictments are purely personal matters. So why would a government agency, a federal agency, be there to arrest you?
Well, they were all federal agencies that were there. You had the U.S. Attorney, you had IRS.
HUD does not investigate individuals. I know that for a fact our city receives HUD funding for various programs, so
right.
I'm very concerned that this may pertain to problems with our city itself.
Well, I did ask the mayor. I don't think you're going to touch this one. I did ask him earlier, and he didn't want to touch that. But there is not. I can tell you this. I've got the indictment in front of me. There is nothing in the 13-count indictment at all that involves HUD. Now, whether there's something else coming later on, I don't know about at this point. So, but we'll keep following it. 508-996-0500. You next to the mayor. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi Barry. How are you?
Good.
A couple of points here that somebody should make to the mayor. You just got through saying how you've redone streets in the city of Florida. I don't think you're riding around the city that much because they're horrendous. in the
Well,
city of Fall River.
I strongly disagree. We have the
Where-
facts.
Tell me where. You
I
don't
can
talk
get
about your
I can
streetscapes
get
project.
All right,
Barry.
let the gentleman answer.
So
Again.
what I'll do is I'll provide Barry a list of all the linear feet that we've done under this administration
I-
with every single street.
You may have done linear feet, but let
And
me
we'll-
tell you
and
something.
we'll point out all the
Most of
streets.
The streets in the city of Fall River are horrible. Your streetscapes project, I am driving by that on a daily basis. That streetscape should have been on Main Street, not on Purchase Street where it's done.
All right, I want to grab another call. Why did you choose Purchase instead of Main?
We've chosen a lot of streets. It's
Right.
all Bedford Street is going out to bid by the end of the year.
Okay.
Columbia Street's going out to bid. We did East Main Street. We did Purchase Street. We did Bank Street. We're doing all kinds of business districts that are also places in need of some TLC. So we're pretty excited about them, and I think the public is too. But we also do our Chapter 90 streets. We fix potholes every single day. We do a ton of different streets, and we'll get the list of all the streets to you.
All right, you're next in WBSM. Go ahead.
Hi, you had mentioned that all these organizations and political people are interested solely in money. If I may ask, what motivates you? Or I'm motivated by money. What would motivate you?
What motivates you?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, and I'll answer this very, very directly and very honestly. When I first wanted to be mayor,
You got 30 seconds to do
years
it.
old, right? I think I was 13 years old when I first wanted to be mayor of the city of Fall River. And what originally motivated me was somewhat of the ego, like anybody else, right? You want to be the mayor of the city that you were born and raised in. That's a childhood dream of many, many people. And then when you achieve it, you understand the great responsibility you have and the great ability to make an impact on people's lives every single day. And that's what motivates me. I'm a mayor in good times. We've got a good economy. We've done a lot of great work together as a great team. And that's what makes me want to go to work every single day. That
I got to wrap it up.
We
completely
continue to
out
do
of time.
some great things.
Mayor, thanks for coming down.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Barry.
it. Let's
All
do it
right.
again.
Thank you, definitely.
All right, Mayor Jasiel Correia. Mayor John Mitchell, New Bedford Mayor, joins us tomorrow at noontime. In the meantime, news is next. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.